They said nobody could survive that fall. 800 feet of empty air between the canyon rim and the rocks below, and Willow Tsinajini was already tumbling through it, pushed by hands that wanted her silenced forever. 20 people watched her disappear over the edge, 20 witnesses who would tell you later they were too shocked to move, too far away to help. All except one, a disgraced ex-lawman who hadn't worn a badge in 4 years because he'd frozen when a good man needed him most. Grayson Cole had spent 4 years running from his cowardice. Now he had one chance to outrun it. He started climbing down that cliff before his brain could remind him that heroes usually die. Grayson Cole hadn't worn a badge in 4 years, but he still felt its ghost pressing against his chest every morning. The phantom weight of brass and shame, a reminder of the day he'd stood frozen while Sheriff Morrison died because Grayson had been too afraid to draw his weapon. Now he worked cattle on the Brennan Ranch outside Flagstaff, keeping his head down and his past buried. The Arizona sun beat down as he rode fence line near where ranch property bordered disputed Navajo Nation land. Tension had been building for months. Threats, vandalism, angry confrontations. He saw the crowd gathered near the canyon rim, where Oak Creek cut through red rock 800 feet below. Maybe 20 people, ranchers facing off against a smaller group. He recognized the setup immediately. Raised voices, hands drifting toward gun belts. Not your problem anymore. You don't wear the star. But his horse kept moving forward. As he got closer, he saw her, a Navajo woman in her early 30s, standing between the groups with documents raised high. "This land was promised to my people in 1868, she said clearly. "I have the treaty right here. The survey markers you moved last month prove you know the truth." Clayton Brennan, Grayson's boss, stepped forward with his sons flanking him. "That treaty's dead, as the men who signed it. You're trespassing. The law says otherwise. Federal surveyors are coming next week." Grayson saw Clayton's jaw tighten and knew someone was about to die. His hand moved instinctively toward empty leather where his holster used to be. "You made a mistake coming here alone," Clayton said softly, too softly. It happened fast, the way violence always does when men have convinced themselves they're justified. Clayton nodded to his eldest son, Travis, who moved behind the woman. She spun, but Travis was already grabbing her arm, twisting it behind her back. Documents scattered in the wind. "Let her go," someone shouted. The Navajo group surged forward, but were met by ranch hands with rifles raised. Grayson kicked his horse into motion, but he was 50 yards away when Travis dragged the woman toward the canyon rim. She fought hard, landing an elbow to his ribs, but he was 6'4" and 200 pounds of muscle. "You want to see your precious land? Get a good look on the way down." The woman's eyes met Grayson's across the distance, dark brown and utterly unafraid. Travis's hands on her shoulders, the small shove that sent her backward into nothing but air. Everyone froze. Even Travis seemed shocked, staring at his hands. In that suspended moment, Grayson saw what he'd become, another coward watching evil unfold. Not again. Not this time. He charged toward the cliff edge, dismounted and looked down. She'd fallen 30 feet before catching on a narrow ledge. She lay motionless, one arm dangling over the void. "She's gone," someone said. "Nobody survives that." But Grayson saw her chest move. Barely, but it moved. "Need rope. Now!" Nobody moved. The Navajo group stood frozen. Brennan's hands looked to Clayton, who shook his head. "Leave her." Grayson unbuckled his belt. "I'm going down there." "The hell you are. You work for me, Cole." "Not anymore." 20 feet of leather. Not enough, but he'd figure it out. "Anyone who wants to help, I won't refuse, but I'm going down with or without you." Nobody stepped forward. So Grayson started climbing alone. The canyon wall was crumbling sandstone that broke off in his hands, thorny brush that tore his palms, heat radiating like an oven. His belt wrapped around a juniper root provided the first anchor. He lowered himself hand over hand, boots scrabbling for purchase. 4 years ago, he'd frozen while Morrison confronted 2 armed robbers alone. When the shooting started, Grayson had pressed himself against a wall and done nothing. Morrison took 3 bullets. The old man's dying eyes said everything. Coward. 20 feet down now. His shirt tore on a rock outcrop. Blood ran down his forearms. Above, faces peered over the rim, spectators watching his likely death. "Hold on," he called down. "I'm coming." A rock gave way under his boot, and suddenly he was sliding, fingernails ripping. He caught a root and hung gasping, legs dangling over nothing. Below, the woman stirred. "Morrison died because I was too afraid. I won't let fear win again." His body screamed to stop, but something had broken loose inside him, some calcified shell of shame. Beneath it, he found the man who'd believed that badge meant something. His hand touched the ledge. He pulled himself onto that narrow strip of rock, chest heaving, hands bleeding. The woman's eyes opened when he touched her shoulder, sharp with intelligence despite the pain. "My leg. Can't move it. Broken left leg. Compound fracture. Possible cracked ribs. But breathing, spine intact." "I'm going to get you out of here. What's your name?" Willow Tsinajini." Her hand gripped his wrist. "You shouldn't have come down. Now we'll both die." Maybe. Grayson looked up at the cliff face. Getting down had been nearly impossible. Going back up with an injured woman. Suicide. "But I'm done running from hard things." Grayson tore his shirt into strips and bound Willow's leg. She bit back screams. "This is insane. Leave me. Get help." "They won't send help." "The man who pushed you owns this county." He tied the last knot, creating a makeshift harness, binding them together. "Best chance is to get you up where they can see you're alive." Hard to hide a body, too. True, but Clayton's smart enough not to want a federal murder investigation. "You said surveyors are coming." Grayson positioned himself behind her. "Hold on to me. Don't let go." The climb was nightmare-made flesh. Every foot gained required 3 attempts. Willow's weight pressed him against rock, her broken leg bumping his hip. She never cried out, just breathed in sharp bursts through clenched teeth. 20 feet up. His arms felt like jelly, fingers torn and bleeding. Dehydration made his vision swim. Travis Brennan appeared at the rim with a rifle pointed down. "You just couldn't mind your business, could you, Cole? Pa says I'm supposed to finish this." Grayson hung there, one hand on rock, the other in a crack, Willow's life on his back. No weapon, no leverage. "Go ahead and shoot, but there's 20 witnesses up there. You pull that trigger, you're murdering a man trying to save a woman your family tried to kill. Think that plays well when federal agents show up?" Travis's finger moved to the trigger. Then an old Navajo man pushed through and grabbed the rifle barrel. "Enough! Enough blood today!" The spell was broken. Navajo people brought rope. Real rope. Within minutes they'd hauled Willow up, then Grayson. When he collapsed on solid ground, Willow lay nearby, the old man cradling her head. Clayton Brennan stood nearby, face purple with rage. "You're finished in this county, Cole." Grayson pulled himself up, swaying. "Good. Wouldn't want to work for anyone who'd hire a man like you." He looked around. "You all saw what happened. Travis Brennan pushed this woman off a cliff." "I'm the proof." Willow's voice cut across them, weak but clear. "And so is everyone who watched." "The surveyors come in 5 days." She looked at Grayson. "You didn't have to risk everything for a stranger." "Yes, I did. 4 years ago I chose safety over duty. It cost a good man his life." He met her eyes. "I'm done being a coward." The federal surveyors confirmed what Willow's documents proved. The Brennan Ranch had illegally occupied 200 acres of Navajo Nation land. Clayton and Travis were arrested and convicted after an 8-month trial. Grayson testified, his hands still scarred from that day. He'd become a local legend, though not everyone appreciated it. The ranching community viewed him as a traitor. Death threats arrived weekly. He didn't care. For the first time in 4 years, he could look at himself in the mirror. Willow recovered slowly. The broken leg required surgery and months of physical therapy, but she testified clearly, and the land was returned to the Navajo Nation. On a cool October afternoon, Grayson stood at Morrison's grave. He'd avoided this place for 4 years. Now he placed a hand on the headstone. "I couldn't save you. I was too afraid, and you paid the price. I'm sorry." He took a breath. "But I saved someone else. I saved Willow. And maybe that means I can finally forgive myself." A shadow fell across the grave. Willow stood there, leaning on her cane, wearing traditional dress and turquoise jewelry. "I was wondering when you'd come here." "How'd you find me?" "Asked around." She read Morrison's headstone. "You're sheriff, the one you couldn't help." "Yeah. You know what I think? He'd be proud of you. What you did that day took more courage than most people have in their entire lives." "I should have acted sooner." "Maybe, but you climbed down a cliff with no equipment and carried me back up. You risked everything for a stranger. That's the opposite of cowardice, Grayson." They stood in silence. Finally, Willow spoke. "The Navajo Nation is hiring peace officers. We need someone who understands both worlds, who won't back down from doing what's right." She looked at him. "Someone who knows what it means to wear a badge with honor." Grayson felt something shift, the phantom weight lifting, replaced by hope. "I don't know if I'm the right man." "You climbed into hell to pull out someone you didn't know. If that doesn't make you the right man, nothing does." Willow extended her hand. "What do you say, Officer Cole?" Grayson looked at Morrison's grave one last time, then at the hand offered to him. "I say yes." 6 months later, Grayson Cole pinned on a new badge. As he patrolled the returned lands, he sometimes caught himself touching that brass star. It was heavy, but not like before. Now it felt like responsibility, purpose, and redemption earned through blood and sacrifice. Some mistakes couldn't be undone. Some ghosts never fully disappeared. But Grayson had learned that redemption wasn't about erasing the past. It was about climbing down into the darkness when everyone else looked away. He'd saved Willow's life that day. But in truth, they'd saved each other. Her from falling, him from the coward he'd become. And sometimes that's what redemption looks like. Two broken people helping each other climb back toward the light.